Japan has announced it will not be sending a government delegation to next year's Beijing Winter Olympics. The decision is in line with a US-led diplomatic boycott over concerns about human rights abuses in China. Tom Sheshier has the details.
These boycotts that we've seen happening, the US was the first country to lead the boycott charge, as it were. It specifically referenced what's happening in Xinjiang and the campaign of repression against Uyghur people and other minorities there. The UK followed the US, the Canada as well, and Australia. None of those will be sending diplomatic officials. They're still sending their athletes, of course, but it is a diplomatic boycott. Other countries aren't doing that. France has said it will still send officials. And it's a hard position for Japan. It's got to walk the line, really. It is an ally of the US, but it also has very close economic ties with China. And it had support from China when it came to hosting the Summer Olympics in Tokyo, which were delayed and held during the pandemic. So what it's ended up with is not quite a boycott. It's not going to send government officials. But when asked whether this was a boycott, they said they didn't like that term, and it will be sending other officials from its Olympic organizations. But it did draw attention to China's human rights abuses and said it wanted China to protect human rights. So I don't think Beijing will react as furiously as it has with the UK and with the US. And partly that's because China has its own problems to worry about right now, specifically COVID and how that might impact the Olympics. The city of Xi'an, which you may know is famous for the terracotta warriors, it's a city of 13 million people as well, and it's in a very strict lockdown, the strictest lockdown we've seen since Wuhan was locked down in the very early days of this pandemic. People are being confined to the houses. They're only allowed out once every 2 days to buy essential items. Everyone is being tested. So taking this very seriously. You might think, gosh, how many cases is prompting that? In the UK, of course, more than 100,000 cases recorded yesterday. Well, in Xi'an yesterday, there are only 52 cases, around 230 in total. They're still locking down that entire city. That's how worried they are about COVID ahead of the Olympics, perhaps worried about the effectiveness of Chinese vaccines and still pursuing that zero COVID strategy.